Round 8 and to Knockhill in Scotland. But for the man from Spain and the man from Japan, this was no holiday. However, a certain shaky Byrne was out to prove he's still a contender.
The Superbikes then, 30 laps. The track temperature has risen to 40.6 degrees Celsius now. Of course, the lap record to be established. As we've said already, it's now a 1.2713 mile lap here at Knockhill. It's been recalibrated. And it's going to be a red-hot race in the 2006 Bennett's British Superbike opening race here at Knockhill. The Superbikes are on the second of their warm-up laps, and just time to look at Gregorio Lavia, the series leader from Leon Haslam and Ryoichi Kianari, both those men closing in on Lavia after Snetterton. Harris, Byrne, Ray, Laverty and Rutter round out our top 8. And Shane Byrne is the mover and shaker at the moment on his way up the leaderboard. Tommy Hill, Dean Thomas, Scott Smart, Glenn Richards, Craig Coxall, Gary Mason, Ben Wilson and the absent James Hayden in 16th place. So as round 8 of the Superbike Championship come under orders for the first time here at Knockhill today, there's the two-way Chicanes. They got a great start. Jonathan Ray does it well. Shane Shaky Byrne on the remaining Rizla Suzuki in this year's series. Gets out first on the 67 bike into Seat corner for the first time. Johnny Ray looking for a way round. No, it's an Airwave Ducati who's slotted in behind Shane Byrne. So Johnny Ray mires himself with a fairly average start for the pole sitter, but it'll all settle down from now on in. We are already at the John R. Weir chicane and out towards Clark Curve. Shane Byrne has looked like a winner all through practice and qualifying, and you've got to say, if it hadn't been for that massive crash he had at Snetterton 4 weeks ago, we might have seen these kind of performances from the Rizla top man. Well, I did mention that Johnny Ray looking for his first win in his career on a Superbike, but of course Leon Haslam is looking for his first win of the year on a Superbike, despite being second in the championship on the number 91 bike. Looking there at number 2, that's Kianari. He's in 4th place at the moment with Lavia number 1 behind him, and then it looks to me like Tommy Hill on the first of the Virgin Mobile Yamahas. There's a good start from Tommy Hill on the number 8 bike. He's in 6th place at the moment, being chased by 33 Michael Laverty on the Stobart Honda, but coming down into the braking area. Look at Haslam on the brakes. We know how good he is on the brakes on that Ducati. This year, again, we were expecting Kianari. Look good through qualifying as Haslam through the inside line. Going into the braking area now at the real radio hairpin, and Haslam pulls it down beautifully. Now we're going to get a shot at how quick that Suzuki versus Ducati drag race is up the hill. Great manoeuvre from Haslam. So, Leon Haslam, that's the kind of manoeuvre, and Ron will be very happy. Ron Haslam not happy particularly at the moment. He's very uncomfortable with a trapped nerve, but really it's a standard braking manoeuvre down into here, providing you're confident with the front end and the way you can turn it in. And certainly the Ducati at that point looked very good. Oh, except that one, Gregorio Lavia out wide, and it's died on him. I tell you what, it died. It backed in a little bit, and it's died. Gregorio Lavia, the series leader, is about to lose. Oh, as he was nearly rammed by a Virgin Mobile bike. Of course, when you're on the outside of the track just there, everybody's looking for the wide line to get the power on the fat part of the tyre. He's got it running again. Well, I don't know what happened there. It seemed to switch itself off, and it looked to me like he turned it right off and then rebooted it, so to speak, for wanting something better. It just stopped there. He asked for the power, and it just ran out wide. Winding the throttle, and it's just died on him. Well, that is a rare situation for the Airwave Ducati team. Leon Haslam out front. Now then, it's all going to be about Leon Haslam gaining 25 points. What's the difference in the championship at the moment? It's 38 points between Haslam and Gregorio Lavia.
Kianari at the inside into real radio hairpins. So that's Johnny Ray. Just left too much of a gap. Ryoichi Kianari, as opportunistic as you like, popped up the inside, but Ray will come straight back at him.
Seat corner, no way back there. Fastest lap, Haslam, 49.001. So Haslam at the moment has the fastest lap also. Shane Byrne just being left a little bit behind through the right-hander. Lap 7 of 30. Haslam. I can't tell you how much people will be willing, that young man round here, to take his first win. And of course, he'll take a 25-point chunk out of the 38 points difference there is between him and race leader Lavia. Where is Lavia now in the overall order? He's not even on my monitor, Lavia. Lavia is right out of it at the moment. He's down in 23rd place. So Lavia has massive problems and will not score any points in this opening race. Kianari is the man that's after Byrne in front of him. Kianari is the man challenging. How far was Kianari behind Haslam? He's only 2 points behind Haslam in the championship. So despite the fact that Haslam's closing in on Gregorio Lavia, his teammate, also Lavia is closing in massively as well, bringing the 3 men. Well, I asked the question many, many times from Gregorio Lavia, Tony, whether he thought he'd got this championship under control when he looked like he was running off with it. He'd had 7 wins out of 10 races this year, and you've got to say that with that kind of manoeuvre, you pretty much got the championship sorted, but he refused to think he had, and here's the reason why.
Well, so typical of Gregorio Lavia. He's a seasoned campaigner. He's been around the block a few times. He really knows the racing game inside and out, and he knows anything can happen in racing, and especially when this guy here, number 2, just behind the man you're looking at, Shane Shaky Byrne, I'm talking about Ryuichi Kiyanari. With his form, he's won 3 races out of the last 4 outings, and you know, what price him catching Leon Haslam at the front?
We're at 1/3 distance there, and you saw the way they're using the curbs here through the John R. Weir chicane and up onto Clark as well. Knockhill have done a great job of resurfacing this racetrack, and they've also put in some great curb paint as well. All these boys are using all the track and all of the curb as well. Oh, that was a dive from behind, wasn't it? He just couldn't quite square off the apex, though. This is going to be a drag race. HM Plant Honda versus Rizza Suzuki up the hill. Rizza Suzuki and HM Plant Honda. Who's it going to be? Neck and neck. Great stuff. Works bikes. Byrne will have the corner by virtue of the fact that he was on the inside. He ran a little wet wide down into Duffer's Tip, but dear me, well, there wasn't an inch of difference in that up and over the hill. Of course, the old traction control will have been jumping in, trying to limit those things from wheeling over the hill, otherwise the things would have been pointing skywards. Really, I'm all for a bit of the technology on these motorcycles. It's not long before we're going to be seeing traction control and some kind of stability control on motorcycles ready for the road, and this is where they're being. You hear the way they sound as if they're 8-stroking across there. It's just coming in over those bumps, because otherwise these 250 horsepower motorcycles are going to be spinning wheels and trying to spit the riders off. Of course, we are going to come into back markers, and that could be a bit of a nightmare. Haslam has a modicum of more time to fight his way past them, but Byrne and Kiyanari are all over each other big time.
Shaky's looking good now.
Shaky, he's a class act, and the thing I like about Shaky, he's a real jack-the-lad. A little bit on the cocky side, but I like that because he's a good old southerner.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, he's a racer. He wants to go out and win races. If he's behind you on the last lap, there's going to be none of this stuff where, well, you know, I couldn't quite make it, I couldn't quite do it. He'll have a go at bouncing out the inside. People argue that Kiyanari can't race, but look at the way he's been bouncing up the inside of Byrne here at Knockhill of all places.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, he wants to win this championship as much as anybody else. At the minute, these 3 that are out on the racetrack all want to take it to Gregorio Lavia.
I was saying about, Kiyanari pops on the inside of Byrne. Will he make it stick? Will he hold it tight? Comes a little bit wide. That was a great move by Kiyanari. Byrne just couldn't capitalise. He ran a little bit wide, did Ryuichi, but Byrne couldn't make it through.
They're having to muscle themselves up and over the front of the bike so it doesn't actually wheelie traction control. It's all very well having traction control kicking in, but if traction control kicks in, it means the bike's not punting forward, as is Haslam punting forward. Got held up a little bit there. Kiyanari is on the shoulder now of Leon Haslam. Haslam on the 91 Airways Ducati there has a real problem coming with Keogh. Keogh is on the charge. Michelin shot, of course, HM Plant Honda versus the Dunlop shot Airways Ducati. Wow, dear me, Michelin shot. It just spat itself sideways. Was he saved electronically, or was it his right hand that saved him, do you reckon, Tony?
Was his right hand that got him into that trouble, Keith? Was he just getting a little bit over eager, as you can see Leon starting to come back a 10th here and a 10th there?
That's the thing with traction control, of course. You swing the throttle on and expect the electronics to actually save you in those circumstances. And I think riders really depend on it more and more.
But that goes right back to the start of the year at Brands Hatch, when Leon had that crash at Paddock. There are some thoughts around that was down to the electronics perhaps not catching him early. We thought it was too early for him to be getting on the gas that soon into the turn.
Oh, that's a great shot.
Fantastic,
that is a fantastic shot over the John R. Weir chicane. Absolutely fantastic there.
Gets an idea of how much.
Yeah, of how much they're using all the curbs. There's James Buckingham, number 56, goes through. Buckingham is 56, and he's the leading privateer. Gregorio Lavia is in behind him. That's Kieran Clark on the 74 there. That's the other one of the Virgin Mobile bikes. So Lavia has got a lot of work to do. Where is he at the moment? He's in 15th place, up from 23rd to 15th. So he's got a point at the moment. He's in the 1 point scoring position. But look at the work he's got to do. 5 is, of course, Gary Mason on the Hydrax Honda. And Mason is in 12th place. Buckingham is in 13th overall, but 56 Buckingham leads the Superbike Cup Championship for the independent riders or the privateers. Superb stuff from Haslam.
Did you see Leon have a really long look at his pit board then as he came over the hill? You didn't see him turn his head, and he was taking in all that information from as he climbed up the hill. He knows exactly what's going on behind him now. He'll know that's Chianari behind him.
Well, I think he will have known that for a long, long time, and it will have been one of those situations where maturity is sneaking in on the 23-year-old. And Haslam, he's been around for seemingly like an age, riding all sorts of classes at all sorts of times.
Well, he's been in the paddock all his life.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
because I've known him in his paddock.
Yeah.
When he was born, I remember meeting him for the first time when Ron and Anne proudly presented him to the world. In fact, that's quite a story as far as that's all concerned, but I don't think we should go there at this particular point. Again, Chianari can't stop that Honda quite as stably as Leon Haslam is able to do, and that really bodes well for when Haslam has to ask a bit more for the braking performance of the bike into the hairpin. This time Chianari's looking good up the inside, but again Haslam on the brakes. That little bit better at Seat corner. Down Duffus dip, on towards the Scotsman. Well, you've got to say that Haslam at the moment has the control that he needs, and 25 points is better than 20 when you're chasing Lavia, who's scoring at this moment. He's in 12th place, so how many points does that get? I've never been down that far for Lavia. 3 points, yeah, you're right.
4. Sorry, 4, 3, 2, 1. 4 points. Fingers and toes out, keep fingers and toes out.
Fat little digits you got as well. This is where the Honda is very good, that initial punch up the hill. He's gone the long way round this time, but Haslam's on the braking line into that corner. I tell you what, if Chianari managed to pass him in a straight line and then drop it over his nose, I would have been impressed. It's not a case of if, it's a case of when, as far as Chianari passing Haslam is concerned. That marker moves up to the curb, that's perfect for these two, but I tell you what, they're so focused, if anybody gets in the way, I reckon they're going to go straight through them like a knife through butter, because both of them are so determined to win this race. Shaky Byrne has closed in as well. Ollie's having a good old look. Well, who's your money on here, Tony?
Leon. I think Leon at this stage, just because he's looked so good throughout the race, and that where we just saw going into Seat curve, Kyo has another look at the inside, not to be. But where you just saw him on the previous lap going to Seat curve, the first turn, Leon saw Chianari there and went that extra yard on the brakes.
Worst case scenario is Kyo clips Haslam and Shaky Byrne wins it. Not the worst case scenario for him. I'll tell you what, look at that. Now then, the old traction control kicked in on the Airwave Ducati. He wheeled up in the air, got the rear end spinning a little bit, and it gave the momentum to the Honda. I've been trying to make the point for a while. Of course, when the traction control kicks in, it effectively slows the bike down, and that's what happened to me at that point. As he came over the hill there, the Ducati wheeled a little bit, traction control had knocked the power off fractionally to the motor, and it gave the extra impetus to the HM plant Honda, and the Honda goes through. Now we're going to see sparks at the hairpin, that's for sure. We're coming to that point now. Haslam will be right there. You can hear the rev limiters and the traction control kicking in on all of them. Haslam straight up the inside. He makes it look easy, but he runs wide, and that'll let through Shaky Byrne as well. Haslam will have great drive from that point. Will he be able to get back past the Suzuki? Suzuki's good in the straight line as well. We're on lap 27 of 30, 28 now of 30.
This is where you see Leon Haslam at his best, I think. He's made a mistake, he's got nothing to lose now. He wants to take a win, he has to take a win. And his pit board will have been telling him about Gregorio Lavia. He hasn't got many laps to do it, though.
What a great ride from Shane Byrne as well. Haslam moved up the inside. This is a replay. Already backed in is Chianari, looking for the apex. Haslam misses it by a mile, and through goes ever the opportunist Shane Byrne. Now we're on for a Shane Byrne win. Remarkably, Shane Byrne has now seen the rabbit, got hold of its tail. That is Chianari, and he's going to be looking to turf it out of the way.
Right, I think we've called 4 winners for this race.
No, 3. We wanted the other one to be in there, Johnny Ray, of course, but these 3. Well, of course, the money's evenly spread here in the Sky Sports truck at the minute over the 3 men at the front, although I have to say that the moral victory would have been to Johnny Ray, or the favoured victory perhaps would have gone to Johnny Ray. Chianari out front. I mean, these are all favourites. My wife particularly, I'm quite jealous how much she likes Chianari. Chianari, fastest lap on lap 16, 48.731. That's a long time ago. We're on lap 29 of the 30. Chianari knows that he cannot afford to make a single mistake, or that wily old Shane Byrne has been so mature in the way he's ridden this race. He slipped back to 3rd, he conserved his tyres, he didn't try and work too hard, didn't make the bike spin and start out of control. He's fit, obviously, because he's gone a long way in this race. And that's another question mark, of course, that you can always make over a rider. Are they fit enough to have that last push at the end of a long, long race? 30 laps around this tight little track is a real, well, it's going to knack you, that's for sure. Chianari comes over the line then to start the last lap. Last lap time. HM Plant Honda leads Rizla Suzuki, leads Airwave Ducati, leads Red Bull Honda. Although it's only these 3. Leon is going to have to settle for 3rd place. He's got anything as far as he will be, and it was a slight mistake that got him that position. He was just a little bit over-ambitious. It's cost him second place at least.
Yeah.
I think that's all. I think that maybe first place was in question anyway, but second place has gone to Shane Byrne, virtue of Leon's over-ambitious braking manoeuvre.
But so it's cost him second place in the championship after this race, because Chianari will have overtaken him.
Exactly. But they're all closing on Lavia. Lavia is now in 11th place. That's 5 points he's got at the moment, so he's rescued 5. But Chianari will go in 20 on him. We're into the hairpin for the last time. Oh! I'll tell you what, that's as close as you ever get to wiping your nose on the rear end of a Rizla Suzuki. It's going to be Chianari. Well, he won twice here last year. He's just taken the win here today. He's got the fastest lap as well. Ryoichi Chianari on the number 2 shod HM Plant Honda takes first place from Shane Byrne. What a result for Rizla Suzuki after the weeks that they've had. Third place went to the Airwave Ducati of Leon Haslam. This man, the series leader, comes to the hairpin all on his own now. He is in what? 11th place. Scott Smart is a long way in front of him. So Lavia will take that 11th place as he comes over the line. He does. No doubt about the winner this time, though. Ryoichi Chianari from Shane Byrne from Leon Haslam. Gregorio Lavia's lead in the championship down to just 20 points from Ryoichi Chianari now, who's moved up in front of Leon Haslam. 7 points between them, and then a massive gap. 92 back to Shane Byrne, but it won't deter him because Byrne in front of Harris, Ray, Laverty and Hill. Then it's Rutter, Smart, Thomas, Richards, Coxall, Wilson, Mason and the injured James Hayden. Of course, Hayden and Rich and Thomas not riding in the second race today. There's the 2 Airwave Ducati. Now then, reportedly, Lavia got a stone in his air intake in race 1. We don't really believe it. It's an easy excuse to make when you've got a failure, but Johnny Ray gets a good start this time, but it's again Shane Byrne, as in race 1, that blasts away at the front of the field, and as in race 1, it's 91 Haslam that slots in behind him, with Gregorio Lavia this time a much better start, up in the 3rd place. Ray, like he did in race 1, is in 4th place, and we wait for the melee down at McIntyre's, a little bit of pushing and shoving, a little bit of paint swapping, but Shaky Byrne, he was shocked at the pace that he was in race 1. Wasn't quite what he expected it to be. It was a slow race compared with how they thought it would go. Ray looking for an inside line on Gregorio Lavia. Well, I'll tell you what, there'll be a few people that shook his hand if he took Lavia out. Wouldn't be Lavia though, that is for certain. So, on lap 1 of 30, alongside me as ever, Tony Carter. This is going to be a cracker.
Absolutely brilliant race on. The prospect for it is amazing. Johnny Ray looks a bit loose, a bit early. He wants to get his head down. He doesn't want to make the same mistake he made in race 1 and let the leaders gill away from him. But Tommy Hill, look at Tommy Hill on the back of the Hondas.
Chianari's the man to watch, though. Chianari came from behind last time. He's in 5th place on bike number 2 behind 65 Johnny Ray. But already Shane Shaky Byrne, as he did in race 1, just easing away on the Rizla Suzuki from the 2 Airwaves Ducatis at the moment. Haslam, though, well, he made a slight mistake in race 1. It cost him a certain 2nd place. He may have even been on for a race 1 win. And, of course, he's yet to win a race this year. Shane Byrne, well, we might have seen these kind of performances from him at Snetterton if he hadn't gone straight on at the end of the straight during practice and at 187 miles an hour or whatever it was, something ridiculous, and that took him out. He banged his head, of course. He was concussed for a moment, so therefore he was taken out of that race, and now he's back after a 4-week break in the summer and looking absolutely a shining example, just what Rizla Suzuki needed.
Shining example, talk about Gregorio Lavia under that banner headline, because he is desperate to make amends for that first race. This mysterious problem, we'll call it mysterious problem, quite frankly don't believe there was a stone in that air intake at all. That looked far more electronic to me, the way he was flicking around the buttons on the instrument panel. Interesting as well that, of course, the reason that was well, reported again for his crash at Snetterton 4 weeks ago was a slipper clutch that didn't quite work well for him. So it just backed in, and he looked bemused when he went down at Snetterton. Very unusual for him to go down. Certainly, I don't think it was his fault that he fell off at Snetterton. So maybe just a few tiny, weeny mechanical gremlins sneaking in on, surprisingly, the series leader's motorcycle. Haslam still second on bike 91, but leading against Shane Byrne. Still Jonathan Ray in 4th place as I duck up and down the top 6. Ryoichi Chianari now closing in on him. Carl Harris has now come into 6th place. So Carl Harris, the second of the HM Plant Hondas. We expected a little more from Carl Harris than we got in race 1. So Chianari and the Michelin shod HM Plant Honda now, fastest men around this Knockhill track ever. 48.550. We speculated whether they were down into 47s. Johnny Ray runs it wide. Chianari
Kianari, well, I don't know whether, I'll tell you what, in Speedway, if you put two wheels the other side of the inside line, you get disqualified. And Kianari then had two wheels on the paint. That just goes to show you how confident they are with the Knockhill paintwork.
Well, they might have had two wheels on the paint, but it wasn't far from having a wheel on Johnny Ray's thigh as they were coming around that corner. They were that close. But I think that shows the sort of urgency that Kianari is feeling at the moment. He's probably sitting there behind Johnny, thinking he could be a bit faster, and the front three are just
Easing
starting
away.
to pull away.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Good shout for the Red Bull Hondas, of course, this weekend. Johnny Ray putting his on pole, only 19 years old. Eugene Laverty putting his on pole in the British Supersports race, albeit after he'd done that in the first session, breaking his right hand and having to pull out of this race meeting. But the two youngsters, the two Red Bulls, they were, of course, in the Red Bull Rookies program, coming up into now the Red Bull Honda program, which is the Works Honda backed by Red Bull. And you've got to say, remarkable achievement for Red Bull.
Yeah, fantastic. And they are a proper little family as well. When you're out in the paddock, they hang out together, they have a laugh together, they socialise together. And yeah, the Laverty and Johnny Ray are just, good mates, and they're out there mixing it up on track in their respective classes.
And no doubt enjoying the performance of her son. But I've got to say, that is a mission and a half from Ryuichi Kianari. Jonathan is not going to be happy at the end of the day. He's just not quite got the pace that he showed yesterday in qualifying, and he's going to be bitterly disappointed. He puts a lot of pressure on himself. He was quite relaxed earlier on before we went racing, but this is just going to annoy him that he hasn't been able to capitalise on that pole position and make that pole position into his first ever Superbike race win. He's had his first pole last year. Take another look at this. As up the inside is Keogh. I mean, Keogh, he looks a little bit desperate on the brakes, Keogh, just here, I've got to say, but he does manage to turn that Honda really tight on the front end. He's very confident on the front end of it, even though the back looks like it's likely to swap ends at any time. He's out! Keogh stuck his leg out. Keogh has just gone out. He's not going to make the double here. Kianari, well, that's a rarity. An HM plant Honda bike breaking down. Unbelievable. Harris being caught by Michael Laverty. So Michael Laverty, the Ulsterman, looking for a way past on the Stobart Honda on the HM plant Honda. Well, that'll give Paul Bird something to smile about, won't it? So the Stobart Honda, of course, raced and tuned by Paul Bird Motorsports team, Stuart Bland and the boys, working extremely hard to develop that Honda in a slightly different way to the HM plant Honda one. So the full works bike has just been passed by the privately entered and paid for Stobart Honda. Shane Byrne, superb on lap 19. How much does he want a race win?
Desperate for it, isn't he? After the past couple of weeks that team have had, you couldn't think of a better deserved win almost in terms of what the team want and what they deserve, and hopefully he can hold it all together. But just look at this battle behind him. Leon Haslam snapping, Johnny Ray, Gregorio Oliveira.
Johnny Ray on a bouncing Honda there, and well, Gregorio Oliveira, the last thing he wants is another bit of bad luck, really, Gregorio Oliveira, seeing the men that are in front of him. He won't be too worried to see Shaky Byrne out front, and he certainly won't be too worried to see Ryuichi Kianari spectating, but his threat now comes from within. It is, of course, Leon Haslam. We've been talking about it for the last 2 or 3 weeks, and also said recently in a paper article that I wrote for up here in Scotland, that this is the point where these two start focusing on their own needs, and through comes Johnny Ray. No, he doesn't. Remember what happened here last year, and I think it was at that corner where he ended up making a bit of a trip just there. Johnny Ray, again, didn't learn, did he, from last year?
Well, he's fearless, isn't he? Like a lot of the guys out there.
He's 19.
Back wheel skipping.
Just a little bit wide again, Johnny Ray. I don't know whether Lavia has the confidence that we expect from him normally to make a big shove pass on Haslam at this racetrack. I think he's just, he's just had a few things undermining him at the moment. He looked a little bit more subdued in pit lane earlier on when we were looking at him. And I just wonder whether, the fall down at Snetterton and then the machine failure earlier on today in race 1, it's just knocked the edge off him. And Johnny Ray is trying to jump round the outside of Lavia. That would be one of the bravest, possibly impassable moves I've ever seen. So 65 Johnny Ray desperate to get by as Shane Byrne's clearing off out front. 48.474, and through comes Johnny Ray with his feet off the footrest at the top of the Seat curves. And believe me, you can't even see that corner when you come over the hill. It just drops away. The apex is somewhere beyond you. And really, Johnny Ray, well, he ain't desperate to get up front, is he?
Feet off the curves, back wheel skipping and hopping up the inside of Gregorio Oliveira through Seat curve. How can you not be a fan of Johnny Ray? Because all he's got is the right attitude, factory Honda underneath him, well, satellite factory Honda underneath him, and he's just got all the nerve in the world to get out there and mix it up with these guys. Brilliant bit of riding by Johnny Ray.
And it's putting so much pressure on Lavia that he has got to make a pass on Haslam. Haslam out a little bit wide, but gets the drive. The two traction controls banging away on the Ducatis and also now on the Honda. And what the hell will Johnny Ray do again in a moment? Because he seems to be at the moment walking on water. Oh, is Haslam going to run wide? Oh, I'll tell you what, Lavia really tried to psych him out a little bit there. And so Colin Wright impassive again. And Johnny Ray's got by. Johnny Ray's got by now. And that is probably the best thing that Haslam could have happen to him. So Shane Byrne leads this race, just in case you forgot there was a Rizza Suzuki out front. It was the one from under the dung heap, I'm told. And a cameraman getting in the way of our cameraman there. We'll go out and give him a slap in just a minute. Shaky Byrne leads over the curbs at the John R. Weir chicane. It is Haslam in second place, albeit only one. Third now is Johnny Ray, going surely for second place. He's trying to push Haslam. There goes Shane Byrne. He's gone through. That's a back marker, don't worry. On to Hislops now. Thundering their way down to the real radio hairpin. Side by side, surely Johnny Ray cannot make that outside manoeuvre. And again, Haslam just a little bit wide. And Lavia's tight on that white line, and he just likes to keep it pulled down. We're on lap 27 to 30. It only seems like lap 5 to me. And what is going to be a disaster for Haslam? Oh, Johnny Ray, he's done it at Clark. He's gone through at Clark. Will he have the drive? Lavia's got down. Oh, no. Lavia has hit the dirt. Lavia has gone out and scores no points again. That is incredible. The imperious Spaniard, his crown has slipped and has almost strangled him. Johnny Ray goes for second place. Johnny Ray is going for second place. Haslam has gone back behind him. Who will be over the hill first? We're on lap 28 and 30. Still it's the Rizza Suzuki to lead Shane Byrne. And Lavia is down at the moment at Clark. And this is the battle for second place. What an afternoon of racing at Knockhill. This will go down as a classic race meeting. There is Lavia walking back. He must be stunned at the luck he has here at the moment. Watch this as we drop into the right-hander. Lavia surely just loses the front end. I can't imagine. There he goes, slides unceremoniously into the Knockhill sand trap, and Lavia scores no points in race 2. We're on the final lap because Shane Byrne's gone through on the Rizza Suzuki. Shane Byrne surely, barring the cruelest of luck and another chapter in the Rizza Suzuki book, is going to win this race. Jonathan Ray, another historic second place for him. He's moving his way up the order. But Leon Haslam, can Haslam do something at the hairpin on the last lap? I really don't think he's going to be close enough. It's going to be down to whether Jonathan Ray makes a mistake